Welcome to RickRackRuby. I'm Laura Cluvo. Today we will make this vintage linen and lace Christmas stocking. This one's for my granddaughter Violet. It's fun and easy, so let's get started. To make the vintage lace and linen Christmas stocking, the first thing to do is to create a pattern. My pattern started with a piece of graph paper that was 17 inches tall and 11 inches wide. And then I sort of pencil drew the stocking shape that I like. And I've used this a few times. It seems to be a shape that I like. This across is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, about 8 inches across here. And the whole thing is 17 inches tall. I use this pattern to cut out 4 pieces of my fabric. I'm using this, it's sort of like a lace collage. It's in a taupe family and I really like this one. I'm almost out, I'm down to scraps. But I cut 4 pieces, 2 left, 2 right, so they're mirrored, 4 layers of fabric. And then I decided this one, to make this one the front, I like when the toe faces to the right. And I sewed a layer of batting. I'm using that cotton batting. So I just sewed around with a little scant 1/4 inch allowance. So this is ready to go. These pieces will be for the lining and the back. So I'm going to set those aside for now. Now, I've made a few of these and I do like a formula. I do like to have a plan. This stocking is going to be for my granddaughter Violet. So I have a monogrammed handkerchief with her initial, and this is going to be the focal point of the stocking. I don't like to put the monogram way at the top of the stocking, but I like to pull it down a little bit so that I can add a border or a cuff above it. I have a couple of options. I have all kinds of laces that I've brought in for this project. So this would be a nice cuff, although it kind of overwhelms the delicacy of the handkerchief, but it's not, it's an option. This one, because it's a filet lace and it's a little geometric, it's a little more subtle. Having this triangular hem kind of competes with the shape of the V, so I'm not sure about that one either, but I'll find something. That might work. Ooh, this is pretty. This is really pretty. I think I'll use this one. And then I like to have something here and then something diagonal here and then something on the toe. And it looks like I've already used half of this for some other project. So I have half of this little doily, which would probably work here. I like that. This sort of blends in with the print. And then, oh, I had something fun. I had these little mother of pearl, they're sort of like buckles, and I sent this purplish ribbon through. I feel like this might be a little bit strong, but I might be able to use that somewhere. And then I also have this shade, which is paler, which might work a little better. I have a lot of options. And then I have some purple buttons. And then I have some mother of pearl. It's always nice to have a mother of pearl, like a large button up at the top there. That looks good. And, oh, I almost forgot about this. This is cool. This is a piece of embroidery. This is an embroidered, I think it was probably a tablecloth. And I like the way that the violets, the embroidery here, and the leaves look like this sort of golden taupe color. So I like that. I wonder if they were green at one time, but I think that might be a better option for the toe. Anyway, I'm going to make some decisions and get everything pinned out, and I'll be back. I've pretty well decided on this arrangement. I'll be using this for the cuff, and I'm leaving myself about 3/4 of an inch between the top of the lace and the top of the stocking. I have a seam allowance. It's better to have a little bit above the cuff. I'm going to sew this button on probably with a purple floss. I have a couple of trims here, and then this has these little lozenges along the way, and I think I'll add these little purple buttons, maybe every other one. That'll be cute. I don't want to be too heavy with the purple down here, so I think I'll add a little bit of this purple trim. Look how cute this is. They're calling it tatting, but I can tell it isn't really tatting. I have this tatting, but I think it's too small. So I'm going to go with this trim, and then this thing, I don't know what this is, but I'm going to use this for the heel. I'm not sure how far in I'm going to come. And then to add some purple up here at the top, I'm going to use this ribbon as, you know, a hanging loop. I don't think I'm even going to be able to use this little buckle. We'll see. But this will be, I'll tie this into a hanging loop when I'm done and let the streamers hang down. So we'll get some purple up here too. And that's my plan. As usual, I have enough stuff to make 10 of these. I've got the first few layers done, the handkerchief and the toe and a few of these trims. I'm just going to keep layering and adding. I think this one is next. No, this one goes here, right? Yep. And then this one goes here, or maybe like this. I'll have to decide which way I want it. Then we're going to, I'll do these, and then I'll add this bit for the heel. I've sewn on these trims, and I have thought of a pro tip for you. I don't want to just lay out these things in parallel lines. I was thinking of it when I added this purple trim. I did a stack. So I stacked these two, and then I put this one on top and in between. So that this just creates one sort of a coordinated, unified sort of a band of lace. And the same thing here, there's 3, 1, 2, 3, and they're just, you know, not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, but sort of a cluster or a group, a stack of 3. And up here, of course, I've stacked 2, but when I add my button, I'll have the 3. Now I'm going to add this little curved piece of lace to the heel, like that. I'll be right back. I zigzagged around the edge of this heel, and I've decided I'm going to do 5 of these purple buttons. I'm just going to sew them on with a single strand of quilting thread. It's easy to space them because I'm just using my lace as a guide, and I'm going to be very careful not to get too close to the seam allowance. So I'm going to start in a little more than an inch with the first one, and then do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that should be good. I just secured my knot on the back of the stocking, and I stitched through the center of this little motif. I call these lozenges. And then I'm just going to sew this on. I'll go through it maybe twice. This is quilting thread, it's pretty strong, so I think twice is probably going to be enough. And then instead of securing my thread on the back after each button, or just taking my tail across, I'm just going to stitch through the next little lozenge and then here will be the next button. My buttons are all sewn on, and I feel like I have enough of a seam allowance here on either end so that my presser foot won't get caught up on this. And I think I'm going to add this little lace motif right here. This is a pretty big flat plane of white, even though it has this, of course, beautiful V monogram. And I just think I want to add a little something right there. I'm going to resist the urge to put a button in the middle of that. I will not do that. I do have a tendency to over embellish, but I won't do that. I'm just going to hand stitch this little tiny round motif down. This is tacked down, but the sides are still open, so I'm just going to tack this down maybe at the inner scallop of each little scallop here, just to hold that down. This is the best purple, the closest that I have, so I'm going to use this shade, and I have 3 strands on my needle. I'm going to sew this right above the monogram into the cuff, I consider this lace to be like the cuff. And again, I want to be sure that I wouldn't want it, you know, way up close to the seam allowance. So I'm going to put it right here. Not smack dab in the center of the lace, it's a little bit higher than the center. And I will just sew enough times to fill in the holes of the button. And then I looked at this and I think what I want to do is just do a little French knot in the end of each one of these petals. It'll be subtle, you might not even notice it. Originally I thought I wanted it in here, but I think it would be better on the end. It'll hold down that lace. In the lace there's like a little spot that's just asking for a knot. Do you see it right there? So I'm going to try to come up right in the center of that little hole, like that. And then a French knot, 1, 2, 3, and back down. And hopefully that knot will catch on the surface of the lace. That looks good. And then the next one, there are 5. The next one is here. One, 2, 3. That looks good. I like just that amount of purple. Don't want to overwhelm it. You know, you really don't need to collect a whole bunch of purple trims and then just add all your purple doilies and your purple laces and your purple trims and purple ribbons and have a purple project. Just use neutral colors and add a little bit of purple to it, or pink or blue or whatever. I'm using purple because, of course, my granddaughter's name is Violet. Sometimes when you go searching for monogrammed handkerchiefs, the only ones you can find have a colored monogram. So maybe if my V was pink, I might have done this all in pink. Blue is another popular color, pink, blue, purple. Those are the most popular colors. And just white or off-white, of course. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I am done with that step. I'm going to secure my thread. I could continue to decorate, but you know, I have that tendency to over embellish, so I'm just going to have to stop myself right here because this really is pretty. Now we're going to assemble the stocking. Remember, I cut out 4 shapes, so I still have the 2 linings and the back. So right sides together, this is the front and 1 lining, and then right sides together, this is the back and 1 lining. You can see this is right sides together. First thing I'm going to do is stitch across the tops. Maybe just a 1/4 inch seam allowance on the top of this and the top of this, right sides together. I've sewn these together and now I will place them right sides together, matching up that center seam like this. Actually, I'm going to work with this on the top, and then I'm going to pin. I'm a pinner. I know not everybody likes to pin. Some people clip and some people just don't even do anything, but I am a pinner. So I'm pinning the seam allowances down toward the body of the stocking. The seam allowances, both sides, here and here, I'm turning down. So we have all those layers all together. Down toward the body of the stocking, not toward the lining. Like this. This is the lining and here's the stocking. And then I will continue pinning all the way around, and I'll leave an opening in the bottom of the foot of the lining. So I'm going to pin this all the way around and then stitch it. I've sewn this together. I've left the opening in the lining down here in the bottom of the foot lining. And now I'm just going to clip, 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 kind of notch these inner corners here and here. And then I'll turn it to the right side. There we go. Now I will reach in through the lining and turn this right side up. And hopefully, hopefully everything is good. Let's have a look. There's my button. There's the V monogram. I might tack these down. This looks good. The toe is nice and round. It looks great. I think I'll just take a single strand of thread and just tack along here so these aren't flipping up. I tacked this down the edges here, and now I'm going to turn in the seam allowances on the bottom of my lining piece, and I'm just going to top stitch it with my sewing machine straight across here just to close up this opening. This is going to be in the very, very bottom here of the lining of the stocking. No one will ever see it, so I'm just going to top stitch this. It looks like that. It's not pretty, but it's quick. Now I'll tuck the lining inside. This looks really pretty. Okay, now for the final step, I'm going to take this idea. I'm not going to wind up using it. I'll use this on something else. But I'm going to fold this in half and then leave a little loop and tie an overhand knot, just a little knot like this. And then this part here is going to be the hanging loop. So this will go on a little hook on the mantle. And then I'm going to pull it a little bit tighter. Okay. And then these will be streamers that just kind of decorate the front. And then by hand, I'm going to tack this knot right here, just behind the seam, right here. Just hand tack it with a nice strong thread, of course. This step is not, you know, I don't know how to finesse this. It's just kind of in and out, in and out. I'm just about done sewing this little hanging loop on, and I'll just show you how I finish. It's just in and out and kind of randomly tacking it through the knot. It's a little thick because it's velvet. I want to make sure that it's secure because I'm sure that Santa will fill this stocking completely and it'll be heavy. So this is what's going to support the weight of all those goodies. And I've gone through it about 10 or 12 times, so I think it's probably good enough. This is a double strand of heavy craft and button thread, it's called. And so I will secure my thread and tie it off. I'm going to say this is done, but I want to hang it up and, you know, so you can see the whole thing. Thank you for watching my video. If you're enjoying my tutorials, please like, share, and subscribe.